Now it is.
And we're streaming, so our joys and concerns will not be recorded. We're going to stop the recording there. And if you Zoomers need any help, please just reach out in the chat to Catherine. And if you have to, just put them there, and she will represent. Our community is supported by our minister, Victoria Pauling, and is held up lovingly by the volunteer contributions from friends and members. If you are new, we are so glad you're here. Please participate as you feel comfortable in our Sunday service. Human connection and relationships are important parts of our life. We invite you to stay for conversation afterwards. For those of you who are new, if you feel comfortable, please introduce yourself at this time. Welcome, Carrie. We are clear in our desire to acknowledge that we are on the traditional homelands of the Squamish, the Swiftwater people, Coast Salish Native people. The Puyallup and Muckleshoot people have lived on and stewarded these lands since the beginning of time and continue to do so today. We seek to move beyond this land acknowledgement to true reparations and wait the day when we will actively participate in such. As we settle in, we acknowledge that our congregation is committed to the individual freedom of belief. We welcome diversity. We seek to promote a sense of community which fosters religion, which enriches the spirit. This is a place where you can feel part of something, belong, no matter who you are, where you come from, what your beliefs are, how you got here, or who you love. We hold community. We offer opportunities to learn and grow, share joys and concerns, and try our best to support one another emotionally and spiritually with our eyes, our minds, and our hearts wide open. So repeat after me. It is good. It is good to be. It is good to be here together. And now I would like to ask Ann Lewis to please come up and invite our chalice and share our chalice reading.
Thank you. I'm not going to pretend to play the harp, unfortunately. But we are missing Leslie. This is the time in our service when we kindle a sacred flame. If you're joining us remotely, please feel free to light your own chalice as well. We join Unitarians and Unitarian Universalists all over the world in lighting our chalices this morning. Our chalice lighting words today are by the Reverend Mr. Mark Grieve, who is building on a quote by James Luther Adams. Church is the place where we practice what it means to be human. On this sacred day, in this holy place, as we light our chalice, may we remember to practice what it means to be human.
Our reading is titled, Is this your religion? It was written by Unitarian minister A. Powell Davies in the late 1940s and can be found in a collection of his writings, Without Apology, published by our own Skinner House Books. He writes, "We are the consummation of thousands of years of religious history. We are thousands of years that have stripped off superstition and battled with tyranny. Thousands of years that struggle to take fear out of religion, to take it right out of human life. Thousands of years that have marched, sometimes joyfully, sometimes in agony, toward spiritual emancipation. We are indeed the consummation of something. Yet in this world of blood and sorrow, it is scarcely important, hardly worth mentioning, unless, in addition, we are the beginning of something, unless our religion is new, the religion that has always been new, in every prophet who died rather than forsake it, the religion that has been buried over and over again in creeds and rituals, and yet has always come to life. The religion that today is new all over the earth, stammering itself into utterance in every language known to humankind. The religion that says freedom, freedom from ignorance and false belief, freedom from spurious claims and bitter prejudices, freedom to seek the truth both old and new, and freedom to follow it. Freedom from the hates and greeds that divide humankind and spill the blood of every generation. Freedom for honest thought. Freedom for equal justice. Freedom to seek the true, the good, and the beautiful, with minds unimpaired by cramping dogmas and spirits uncrippled by abject dependence. The religion that says humankind is not divided, except by ignorance and prejudice and hate. The religion that sees humankind naturally one and waiting to be spiritually united. The religion that proclaims an end to all exclusions and declares a citizenhood unbounded. The religion that knows that we shall never find the fullness of the wonder and the glory of life until we are ready to share it. That we shall never have hearts big enough for the love of God until we have made them big enough for the love of one another." Continues, "As you have listened to me, have you thought perchance that this is your religion? If you have, do not congratulate yourself. Stop long enough to recollect the miseries of the world we live in, the fearful cruelties, the hate, the bitter prejudices, the need of such a world for such a faith. And if you still can say that this of which I have spoken is your religion, then ask yourself this question: what are you doing with it?" I invite you to rise in body, spirit, and sing with us 1003 in that two. So are there a couple of other singers who will be daring enough to help us with the rounds today? Fantastic. Come on down. We need four ideas. So one more. Yeah, Carrie's coming. And I'm going to go back to my seat unless I be the one singing.
Up here. So, 10:03. There's four parts. And why don't we just all practice all of them, and then you can decide which one you'd like to do. So the first one, right, is where do we come from? Where are we? Where are we? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Okay, that's the first one. And you might want to do that the whole way through. Here's the second one. That is high. So you know the timing better than the third one, we'll do it twice through. It's low.
Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle.
Who would like to lead that? Who would like to lead that musician friend? The last one. Okay. Yeah, should we do it?
I'll do it. I'll start with one.
Two. Wait, you're right. You do two. Can you do two? We are.
Just do.
Where do we come? Where are we going? From one. From life.
Yay, everyone. Thank you. We did it together. Thank for us. So I'm glad you got to hear Mr. Barb Grieve already, and I want to officially introduce you now. So, Barb Grieve earned his Master's of Divinity at Starr King School for Ministry. At present, he serves as the hospice chaplain with Vitas Healthcare. From August 2017 to June 2020, he served as one of the volunteer co-moderators at the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, and currently serves on the board of Medville Lombard Theological School. In addition to having served as an intentional interim consulting director of Lifespan Religious Education to multiple UU congregations, Barb has served on the faculty of the Chaplaincy Institute, teaching prophetic voices and social transformation. As the chair of the Starr King School served, I'm sorry. Okay, and then I was looking at Cynthia. There is a hearing thing for you back there if you'd like to. As the chair of the Starr King School for Ministry Board of Trustees, is a founding member and served on the steering committee of gender religious professional Unitarian Universalists together for TRUST, TRUST, and is a founding member and served on the steering committee of the Guild of Interim Religious Educators. Thank you for being here. Shall we call you Rev Barb? Barb. Thank you for being here, Barb.
How's this for reception?
They said better, so
Okay, just, wave at me.
I didn't want to interrupt your reading last time.
It's fine. I want to make sure our Zoomers can hear, so let me know. I once told the congregation it was okay to call me just Barb, and so for a year, just Barb. So now I'm always hesitant to say that. When I say just Barb, I mean he drew a circle that shut me out. Heretic, rebel, a thing to flout. But love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle that took him in. These words by American poet Edwin Markham were the opening words to the children's chapel of my childhood, where we children sat on the floor on our carpet squares, sometimes in lines, never straight lines, and sometimes in an ever-widening circle, with the director of religious education teaching us the core values of our Unitarian Universalist faith, through story, song, and activity. The closest thing we had to rituals back then was the recitation of the poem. These were the years before lighting a chalice became ritualized, or common practice in many of our congregations. I was a child attending chapel services in the years before our 7 principles were reformulated to remove sexist language, before they were radically changed from their original form to the precursor of how we know them today, when we removed man-only language, removed the assumption of race and class and religious superiority that was embedded in the original version. And we added our respect for the interdependent web of all existence. I was 14 years old when the newly agreed upon principles were adopted by the 1985 General Assembly. I remember vividly, as perhaps some of you do, those red and green wallet cards that congregation purchased and handed out to their members so that we could learn and share and proselytize, evangelize our newly adopted principles. In 1986, we did that in 1986. It was the year that I entered high school, and I entered the congregation's youth group still under the banner of LRY, or Liberal Religious Youth. During my high school years, the group shifted from LRY to YRUU, Young Religious Unitarian Universalists. It was a decade later, in 1995, when the Gray hymn book, Singing the Living Tradition, was released and became the new standard in our congregations. It would be about 10 years, maybe 15 years later, before this one that we sing from today would be released. And here we are, decades later, with new hymnals, new readings, new rituals, new understandings of who we are and who we want to be. We are on the verge, months away from adopting new language to replace the existing principles as we know them. If you haven't had a chance to review the excellent work of the UUA's Article 2 Study Commission and the beautiful words that they offer us, I encourage you to do so. They just released the report at the end of last week, just a few days ago. Let me give you a beautiful teaser. They articulate our collective values not in 7 principles, not in 8 principles, but this way, through a few words: interdependence, equality, transformation, pluralism, generosity, and justice. So as you might imagine and have probably experienced, these are just some of the changes that I've witnessed and experienced in my lifetime. In my 52 years with Unitarian each of these transitions, each transition in our faith and our approach to articulating our faith as individual transitions and collectively have been blessings in my life. They have taught me that Unitarian Universalism truly is a living tradition, a faith grounded in an ever-revealing, ever-evolving understanding of ourselves and our role in the wider world. This lesson of change as foundational to our faith and our practiced faith has been a life-saving lesson and blessing, as has all that our faith has offered me. I sometimes casually say that Unitarian Universalism saved my life. And I don't mean it figuratively. I do mean it literally. It has literally saved my life. I am an adoptee, and I've had the privilege of meeting some of my biological family. Given the conservative Christianity that my birth mother practiced, I can only speculate at what hell my life might have been like had I been raised in her faith. You see, I knew back in kindergarten that my gender was not what it was assigned at birth, though it would take me almost 2 full decades before I had words to articulate my own understanding of myself. Nurtured into being by a congregation of people who loved me just as I am, who supported me with all my quirks and stubbornness, who encouraged my creativity and innovation, who modeled complexity and community and change. This is what gave me the strength and courage to come out as transgender at a time when most people around me had never been exposed to the word, never mind had any sense of what it meant. It was a time when most trans and queer folk were isolated, living without the technologies that connect us today, and unable to fully be themselves and simultaneously be in mixed and religious community. I was grateful then, and I continue to be grateful now to have been raised in this faith that from an earliest of ages taught me that God loves me as I am and as I am becoming, and that members of my faith community will learn how to and then do the often hard work of being uncomfortable as they learn new ways of moving in the world, especially if it means together we can draw that circle wider with love. One of the gifts of Unitarian Universalism is that we understand that we are coming into life midstream and have an obligation to those who came before us and those who will come after us. That we are enjoying the fruits of another's labors while also planting and tending the metaphorical, and let's be real, sometimes physical, seeds that those who come after us will enjoy. For me, this is much easier to remember when I am part of a multi-generational community where some of my friends are my age, while others are decades older than me. And now that I'm aged enough, some are 4 years or more younger than me. Where we seek the wisdom of our elders and our yelders alike, those young wise ones among us. So you might imagine then this happened. At the age of 14, I officially signed the membership book of my own congregation, the First Parish in Framingham, Massachusetts, thus becoming a voting member of the congregation. I had been dedicated there as a baby, but taking this move into official membership felt important then and continues to be one of my most cherished life decisions. I am ever blessed to have been raised in a faith community that embraced me as a child, provided me opportunities and support as a teen, and continues to encourage me to grow as an adult. I am grateful for a theology and heritage that embraces liminal spaces and is simultaneously transient and permanent. I've noticed that our communities are hungry for stories that anchor us to purpose and provide the buoyancy needed to be in the long-term work for justice. We need to return to our physical bodies, remembering that these bodies are awesome, and each one of ours is different from the others. We know that a primary tool of white supremacy culture is to keep us disconnected from bodies. And we know that we are yearning for embodied spiritual practice. Active participation in church worship has taught me the importance of ritual and storytelling, of sharing of ourselves and our life experiences. It has taught me how necessary community is, not only when disaster happens, and we pool our resources together to help one another, but also when life is good and we celebrate together. I have learned the power of collective cries of outrage when the world's violence is too much to bear, through protests, rallies, and calls to action. And I know that together we can make more of a difference in the world than any one of us alone could ever do. Throughout my childhood, I had ample opportunities to attend committee and congregational meetings, often because my mother worked for the church, so that was what was expected. Though I loved it, don't tell her that. Through witnessing the business of the church, I learned the importance of questioning how our decisions are made and how they are grounded and reflective of our values. Everything from where the toilet paper comes from to which businesses we choose to support for our encourage. I learned the intricacies of using Robert rules of order, and later in life learned the nuanced benefits and challenges that such a form of governance brings. I was introduced to multiple ways to govern and still enjoy learning more. Being part of this living tradition means that as uncomfortable as it is, we are willing to confront our collective histories, telling the stories of struggle as well as the stories of success. It means accepting that someone else's experience may give them more wisdom than ours, more insight than we personally have. It means that sometimes our individual preferences and needs take a backseat to those of another. In April of 2011, I was asked to share my hopes for the future of our faith. This is what I wrote then. Our faith is not an easy one to practice. It demands of us that we be in constant awareness and dialogue with the world. Unitarian Universalism requires religious engagement not just when it is convenient or easy, but in every moment of our being. We have a rich history and a complicated theology. We have a complicated history and a rich theology. One of the greatest strengths Unitarian Universalist theologies offer is an image of life that is in motion and pluralistic. Through our focus on community and covenant, we learn that the holy takes place in our connections to and with one another. But at times, there seems to be a disconnect between the church school lessons I learned as a youngster and how we adults live our Unitarian Universalist values. The Unitarian Universalism of my childhood taught me that with diversity comes strength, that through embracing our differences, we can better understand the world around us. Yet my years working in and with our congregations have taught me that more often than not, this is more theory than practice. That at times we seek to be with those just like ourselves and to stay in our comfort zones. And yet, I have witnessed our congregations make tremendous change in the ways they are in the world in order to accommodate a beloved member of their existing congregation. My hope for our future is that it does not take someone already within our community to inspire us to change in order to greet all with open arms. My hope is that we are willing to widen that circle and welcome those who are not yet here, that we are willing to do the work to be ready for the guest. My hope for the next 50 years is that our congregations and covenanted communities continue to engage in holy discourse around diversity and affirmation. My hope is also that we continue to share our presence with the world, exemplifying that it is possible to embrace the pluralistic nature that already exists in life around us. All these years later, that is still my hope. That and more. I am hopeful we will continue to build communities where we joyfully acknowledge the pluralism and diversity among us, and we work together to dismantle those systems that have historically prevented some of us from flourishing. I am hopeful that we will continue to transform our congregations and communities into places of liberation, sharing our good news with the world in ways that invite folks in and allow those of us already here to be transformed. I am hopeful that we continue partnering with others to help bend that arc of justice, the arc of the universe towards justice. Remembering that we may not have all the answers, but in partnership with others, we can find and learn and build what is needed. Organizer and writer Grace Lee Boggs asks, what time is on the clock of the world? I would say to that question, now is the time to imagine, to story, and to organize our communities into places of resilience and justice and holy love. Now is the time to focus on body autonomy and reproductive rights, particularly today, a day that marks the 50th anniversary of the Roe v. Wade decision. Even as we struggle again, or continue to struggle, to give women the full choice over their own bodies. Now is the time to focus on intersecting justice, on racial justice, disability justice, queer justice, economic justice, environmental justice, justice in all its forms and at all intersections. Now is the time to ground us theologically and live our faith boldly in the public sphere. Now is still the time, as Nepal Davies wrote, to be the religion that says freedom, freedom from ignorance and false belief, freedom from the spurious claims and bitter prejudices, from the hate and greeds that divide humankind, freedom for equal justice. Now is the time, as he says, to be the religion that says humankind is not divided except by ignorance and prejudice and hate. The religion that sees humankind naturally one and waiting to be spiritually united. The religion that proclaims an end to all exclusions and declares a siblinghood unbounded. We are blessed by a Unitarian Universalism that is unconditionally committed to dismantling white supremacy culture that from its very beginning has lived into and modeled a commitment to changing the meeting needs of our times. Sometimes we've done that well, and often we've had to repair relationships in the process. And yet we are blessed by a Unitarian Universalism that is boldly inclusive, unapologetically queering what it means to be a people of faith, and willing to change our physical and spiritual spaces so that we continue to widen the circle of who is and will be among us. So I invite you to join me, to live into being a part of the living tradition, to live our faith out loud and unapologetically, to bring into the world, to bring into being a world of justice and care, using righteous anger and holy tender love. I invite you to always say yes in moments when your hearts are thumping and your palms are sweaty. To say yes at the intersection of excitement and fear. And then to do the work necessary to learn the skills, to grow in your roles, to nurture the next generation, ensure that their path is not as hard or as challenging to forge as was yours. They will have their own stumbling moments. I invite you to be bold when boldness is needed, gentle when gentleness is warranted, to move with a humility that reminds yourself that what you know is but one perspective, to remain open to changing as your assumptions are challenged and your knowledge grows. We live in an imperfect and hurting world. Let us be witnesses to the pain and warriors against the injustices, remembering that the power for change exists in communities working together, that none of us alone can make the lasting change the world needs. Let us always remember to pause, to celebrate the successes, to mourn the losses, and to learn from it all. May we all cherish this blessing of this faith that expects personal connections, embraces communal transformation and offers us holy love. May it be so.
Now let's take the words. Well, we have another song, 10:08, and I would so love to ask those helpers who are up before to help us lead this in a cappella. When our heart is in a holy place. Yes, there's some high notes and some low notes. Sorry. What's the count? Is it 4? Stand up if you'd like to. When we trust each of us, every corner, every creole, when we see our faces in each other's eyes, and our heart is in a holy place, where our heart is in a holy place, and our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace, holy place. When we tell our stories from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, and our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. Is in a holy place. When we share the silence of a sacred place, and the God of our hearts stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, our heart is in a holy place. We are blessed with love and amazing grace. Very good. Yay. Thank you. We're now going to pause our recording.
Give me a second.
Recording in progress. As members and friends of Vashon Island Unitarian Fellowship, We commit to supporting our fellowship. Financial resources help us pay speakers and staff, support our social justice programs, and maintain our building lease. They also enable us to purchase those items that add to the smooth running of the service. Please support VIUF with your pledges and offerings so that we may continue to be a vital community. Once a month, our offering is donated to a nonprofit organization that aligns with our values of social and economic justice, peace, freedom of belief, and/or protection of our planet and its inhabitants. Today's offering will be donated to the organization Transgender Religious Unitarian Universalist Professionals Together, a volunteer-run organization envisioning a spiritual awakening that transforms Unitarian Universalism through worship, pastoral care, theology, education, and community to the end that trans religious professionals and their ministries are thriving, working to create a new culture of solidarity and common purpose among Unitarian Universalists, committed to countering intersecting oppressions is flourishing. Their work to counter oppression includes, but is not limited to, dismantling racism, sexism, ableism, heterosexism, homophobia, biphobia, transphobia, classism, ageism, colonialism, and sizeism. Born out of commitment to the gifts, safety, liberation, and leadership of transgender people, Trust was founded by Reverend Mr. Bart Grieve and Reverend Sean Parker Dennison in 2004. Trust has provided trainings in transgender identity to congregations and the denominations' credentialing bodies, assisted in the settlement of trans-religious educators and ministers in UU congregations, and worked with the Unitarian Universalist Association in improving trans-related health insurance coverage and introducing gender-neutral bathrooms at its annual General Assembly. Trust has also sponsored informal gatherings of trans-religious professionals at UU conferences and has helped spiritual retreats for its members. I invite the greeters to come up and pass around the offering basket. And in a minute, we'll sing a couple of verses of We Give Thanks that I think is 10:10 in your book. We give thanks for the precious as of far away, for the time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. For all gathered here, with us far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
Shorter than that. Our benediction comes from the words of UU theologian, the Reverend Dr. Sophia Bettencourt. Immerse yourself unapologetically in what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist in these days. Then go out into the world and live knowing that your faith matters.
And extinguishes our chalice. We'll, about to do this at the
I don't think I have extinguishing words, but I'm going to say something. Because as I extinguish this chalice, please recognize it's very symbolic. And I hope to carry with you the flame of what we learned and heard and felt today. Thank you.
As our formal service is over, we have an opportunity to say some announcements, to tell the congregation about some announcements. So if you, but before we do that, I would like to give a special thanks to Leslie, who wasn't here, but was here in person, in her heart, and Barb, Catherine, Vicky, the board, for participating in today's service, and all of you online for coming and attending. So now if you have an announcement that has something to do with the BIUF, please come on up and make it in the next week. Our service is titled Lessons from a Feather. The Transforming Mystery and Wonder team will be providing it. Come, it's going to be wonderful.
I don't normally get up and announce things, and I was nervous about this, but I was encouraged to do it. On Thursday, down in Olympia, on the stairs west of the Capitol, there's going to be a rally, and it is regarding the new, I think they're introducing a bill that has to do with taxation on the super wealthy, and we're talking like hundreds of millions of dollars a year coming into these people, and we don't have a state income tax yet. So the thought is perhaps that's due. And I'm going a little bit on the late side. It starts at 11:30 in the morning and it goes throughout the afternoon and evening, I think. And I would like to let people know that it's happening, and as you see fit to join in. Let's put it into action.
That's this Thursday.
Many of you probably are hooked up with Bailey DeLong's work that she's doing to help us impact the state legislature. And her work is primarily organized around racism, anti-racism, and justice, social justice. And you can get an email from her every weekend, and it's very important. I found out to do the work by Sunday evening because often the bills are coming in Monday morning, and so sometimes I've gotten there a little too late to express my opinion, pro and con. It's very, very easy to do. And she gives you all the instructions. It takes about maybe maximum 10 minutes a week to express your opinion on several different bills about racial justice and police violence and that sort of thing. So if anyone doesn't have that email, I'd be happy to help you get it somehow. Thank you.
Well, I have a new project to suggest for VIUF. We've done a lot this year. We're very excited that we have a successful ministerial search. We have a new minister, so we're all thrilled about that. We've gotten Lewis Hall much more organized. And the office is actually usable now. A nice space for kids to go hang out if they turn up and don't want to sit through the service. But my next project I'd like to bring to your attention, and I hope some of you will engage with me on this, or most of you actually in the long run, is I think it's time to have a conversation about whether we are a Unitarian fellowship or Unitarian Universalist fellowship. I have been in the Unitarian Church even longer than Mark. So when I was in preschool, I was indeed Unitarian. And it wasn't until I was in the first year of high school that we became Unitarian Universalists. And the adults in the congregation at the time were, I think, excited about it. And I was kind of like, yeah, whatever. And didn't really think about it a great deal at that time. We were in the era of comparative religion as the nature of Sunday school. So we knew a tad bit about the Jews and the Christians maybe, but not so much, and Hindus and Buddhists and various people. It didn't have a very clear presentation of what are Unitarians anyhow, what do they believe? And that didn't actually change when we became Unitarian Universalists. Figured out. A lot of what we now regard as our sources of wisdom are statement of philosophy is not Unitarian, it's Unitarian Universalist. The Unitarians were, as one of our ministers schooled us, from the Puritan tradition. They were the classic elitist, highly educated. I ran Harvard AA school. You wanted to be anybody in the Unitarian leadership. You went to Harvard and got your degree there. The values of Unitarians were very much geared towards science, education, intellect, which is all good. I value those things too. But one of my previous Unitarian ministers said to me when we were talking about doing an adult ed program, and I wanted to do something about food deserts in Grand Rapids, he said, "Oh, food, that's a Catholic issue. Education is a Unitarian issue." So we discussed education instead. The Universalists were the ones who believed in universal salvation. They were the ones who would have been behind the broadening the circle, expanding who is part of us. The Unitarians, you really had to work hard to be allowed to be a member in the good old days in the 19th century. Not just anybody, just because you came and you believed, got to be a member. You had to be special to be a member. And the Universalists were much more open. They were the people who were a little bit more aligned with farmers and people who work the earth, not the intellectual elite. Nowadays, for nearly the last 62 years or so, because it was 1961 when Alex is telling me to speed this up. 1961 is when the Unitarians and the Universalists merged. This fellowship was less than 10 years old at that time, but has, in the last 61 years, held on to its identity universalists. And nowadays, people change the names, their own names, when they change their sense of identity. We change the names of parks, we change the names of, well, no, we get rid of the statues. But I personally don't think that clinging to a name that was chosen in 1954 is what I would choose at this time. And I would like to engage the congregation in thinking about that and thinking about what should our name be. I will point out that what I'm taking to be our GA banner identifies as Vashon Island UUs, doesn't actually use our official name. So, if anybody would like to engage in a preliminary conversation about how we want to approach this with the congregation as a whole, please get in touch with me, Kate O'Hare. Victoria will participate with us in this project and think about how to go about it. And my personal vision is that we will decide by the annual meeting whether we wish to make such a change, because this is, of course, bylaws change and all that. And that we will have a really good sense of where everybody in the congregation stands and what they do or don't want to do by that time when we come to a meeting. So please let me know if you're interested in engaging in this discussion. Thank you.
That can be a whole sermon in itself, or a series of sermons. Yes, we have. And I just wanted to point out our chalice that a member made has the two circles. One circle identifies as Unitarian, the other circle as Universalist. So most times you see that our chalices have both. And there are two here, they're just overlapping. And I have another announcement. Amy and I are very pleased today to start something that we'd like to continue every Sunday. After we clean up and after there's conversation and talking, we'd like to offer a soul sync meditation. Oneness. We are all one, and it's just a powerful experience. It would last about 15 minutes, and I will lead you through it. And it has a mixture of breath work and expansion and some sound vibration and observation, and it's just a beautiful meditation. And helps you realize a heartfelt intention that you have. So we welcome anyone and everyone who would like to stay. We're maybe going to start 11:30 or something like that. And if that's all for the announcements, thank you very much, everyone. We are finished. We are complete. Oh. Go now in peace. Go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere. Everywhere you may